Hi folks, this is Cometa Software and the overview of test management system called Allure TestOps. Allure TestOps is the further development of Allure Report. It's a commercial product, and Allure Report is quite widely used in the world and helps people to understand what is happening with the test results without actually looking into complicated logs, and not only really complicated, but they are not clear for the people that are not technically savvy. And Allure TestOps will make additional steps to help people to understand what is happening with the tests. How we will build our presentation. First of all, we'll talk about the quick start, how to integrate our CI server with Allure TestOps, how to get the test results from CI side, and then we will enrich the test results with meta information. Then we will talk about manual testing, how we help manual test engineer to create tests, maintain tests, run tests, and how we help people to automate manual tests, and how people can work together on the automation, both manual engineers and automation test engineers. Then we will run build jobs from Allure TestOps side, and we will see what are the options, how we do it, and why we do it, and how we help people to save the time, which is the most valuable asset when you're working on something. Then we will talk about the defects, how they're helping people to save time again, and how we manage the life cycle of the defects based on the life cycle of an issue, for example, in some issue test management system. And we will talk about dashboards, analytics, and widgets that are in Allure TestOps and how we use it and how it could help people to understand what is happening. The quick start. We will prepare our CI system. We will see the build job settings and environment variables, run the build jobs on CI side, and see what are the test results from CI side. We analyze these test results and we will generate after the analysis, the test documentation, or we will generate test cases, which is the same, but some people refer to this information differently. So test cases, test documentation, or live documentation even. Currently, we support integration with Jenkins, Bamboo, GitLab, TeamCity, Azure, and GitHub. GitHub is currently work in progress, but you can import the test results from GitHub site to Allure TestOps. And all the examples on CI side we will show with the help of Jenkins CI because it's commonly used, clear, and examples will be simple and digestible. What need we to do? First of all, we need to prepare CI side. Even we need to create a project on Allure TestOps side, and then we will start with the preparation of the project on CI side. So we need to either install plugin. We have developed Jenkins, TeamCity, Bamboo plugins. If your CI does not support the plugins, then you can use AllureCTL, which is the command line tool implementing the API of Allure TestOps, and this tool will help you to import the test results from CI system. And the common part for all of this will be providing the Allure server URL. It will be a little bit different for plugin and usage of AllureCTL, but nevertheless, it's almost the same. You need to provide the ID of the project because Allure runs with the projects and everything runs under the project. So project is the highest in the hierarchy of the entities in Allure TestOps. Then for the completion of the integration, we need to provide token, which is the security token generated on Allure side, and this token is provided to CI, thus integration is achieved. And for build job, we need to provide some tags if needed, but it's of course needed because it will provide more information to your job runs or launches on Allure side, and you will see how it works. Now starting on Allure TestOps side, we need to create some project. I already created a project with the ID 75, which is the presentation. It's totally clean. There is nothing inside, you can see. No test plans, no test cases, no launches whatsoever. Now, since the project is created, we need to provide some additional information, which is a security token. We go to Profile and create a token. Jenkins Integration. Submit, and you will have this token for you for integration. You need to copy that and close. Since I already prepared integration with the server, I don't need this token anymore, but you don't delete your tokens. And go into Jenkins site. On Jenkins site, you need to install AllureTestOps plugin. After that, you need to configure that. You need to enable it, provide some ID for this particular server, and there could be several servers. Then you need to provide URL and provide the credentials. And the credentials is the security token that we generated on the first step. And we need to test the connection. So you see that connection is successfully established, so we can continue. The next step of the configuration on CI side is the project. We need to go to our project and configure the integration. We need to enable upload of the test results to AllureTestOps server. We need to provide this ID of the server from the list that we already saw in the settings. And then we need to provide the project ID. The project ID is retrieved with the API, and so we will have real IDs, not the real IDs, but the labels for the projects, and we do not need to care about the ID of the project. So we select this one that we prepared, and then we generate the launch name, how it will be represented on AllureTestOps site. So it will be Jenkins, then job base name, which is this one, AllureTestOps demo, and then the build number provided by Jenkins. And in the launch tags, as you see, I already provided some variables, which is branch, and the branch is the branch on here. The branch default value is master, and it used right here to provide the branch on GitHub side. So it's name of the branch on VCS, version control system. Since we provided all the information, we can save our job. Go to AllureTestOps, to our project, and open the launches area. The launches area, it's the area where you will see the all test results that come from CI side. So we need to start the build job. We will provide default parameters for that and just build. And we'll jump to AllureTestOps side. Job we will start in AllureTestOps interface. Oh, sorry. You see that it's already started. The branch name is master, and other tag that we provided is regular. So it's regular build, and you see that icon is blinking. When the icon stops blinking, this is the sign that our test finalized. Now we are going to the next step of our work with AllureTestOps, which is test results processing. So we need to analyze what happened, we need to understand it, and we need to resolve it somehow. After we completed these steps, we will generate the test cases or test documentation if you want. So we go inside the launch, and we will see right away there are several features that are in the tests, issues and pull requests, and several suites. So suite is based on the package name and class name of the test, and you can see that there are some errors here in issues and some errors here in pull requests. And initial analysis, you can see that there are 2 unresolved test results. And these are the test results that we need to analyze. And also we will see that there is information about the job run. So it's number 75 for AllureTestOps demo. AllureTestOps demo, as you see. What is the next? We can go to the tree, and the tree is built based on the test results that we received. You can see that several of the tests have the same ID, this one and this one. Why is that? It's because this test is parameterized. So we can see in the description of the test that we received from not from AllureTestOps, sorry, but from CI side, that there's several parameters: owner, repo, and title. And the second one, owner, repo, and title, first node, owner, repo, and title, second node. So there's different tests with the different parameters. That's why we have more test results than tests. Then the next steps is the analyzing what's happening here. So we can see that on first step, which is start of driver, it's all right, and there is some errors here on the step number 1. So we'll just skip this step, and we understand that there's some troubles with the tests and some troubles with these tests. And we will see how we can process this and link to defects, and how it will be much easier for us. Why easier? We will see on the next steps. Now the next step for us is to create the test result. From the test results to create the test cases. So test cases area is empty, and we have launches and test results here. So I expect that the test with the same ID will be one test in the test cases. What we do to generate test results from test results, the test cases or test documentation, or to have some analytical information about the test results, we need to close the launch. The launch is closed by pressing this button, close launch. When the launch is closed, all the information about the test results is processed by AllureTestOps, and the test cases are generated. There are two options to close the launch. It's manual. We can go to the settings and go to the launches and then update or create automatic close policy. So for me, for example, finishes launches 4 hours after they finalized, and 24 hours if there is some progress. Submit, and after 4 hours each launch that is completed will be closed. So information from the test results will be in test cases. Now, we generated test cases from the test results, and there is a tree. AllureTestOps doesn't have any folders to represent the test cases and group test cases, but we are using information provided from the tests. For example, there is information about the feature, which is issues, or story, created new issue. And by default, we have several these settings of features, grouping by features provided from the tests, or suites. And in suites, as I already said, suite is generated by the package name and class name. And which is what is important here, you see that there is ID, which called Allure ID, and this is unique identifier for the test. How we link the test to a unique identifier? There is a full name, which I have copied, and we will see how it's looked. This is the package name, then goes the class name, and after class name we have the name of the test. So all this combined is the full name of the test. If something is changed here, for example, if you add issues here, then your test will be considered as new one. So to avoid that, you need to provide Allure ID parameter into your test, and I will show you this a little bit later, how it's done. Now, the next step. We've analyzed everything, we understood, and we created the test documentation. And our main idea is that the tests must contain whole information about themselves. It is the best place to keep the information about the test. And what we will do for that, we provide some additional information to the tests. If you go to your code, and I go into my code, then you can see that there is some information except the standard tag test for JUnit. There is some additional information, annotation, microservice, story, Jira issue, text, display name, whatsoever. So this is meta information, and we provide this meta information to the test. But first of all, we need to teach AllureTestOps how to process, how to understand that there is information for the test results and for test cases. And this is what we will be talking about, the enriching the test results with the test information. Why meta information? Because automated tests is the best source of information about automated tests, as I already said. And the second one, how we do it, everything goes in labels. So all meta information arrives to AllureTestOps as labels in test results. If you're using Allure report, then you don't need to do anything in addition, and all the information from your tests that you already provided will go to test results and will arrive to AllureTestOps and will be processed by AllureTestOps. How we do it? Alright, we'll go to test results and we can see that currently there is only information about feature, story, and suite. What if we want to analyze and group our tests based on some other parameters, like for example microservice? The microservice is defined as custom annotation in the code, and it will provide information about the service. It could be billing, repository, or something else, whatever you wish. So we need to provide additional settings to AllureTestOps. So we'll go to administration section and go to the custom fields. As you can see, we already created microservice, and this is a label to which we will group everything that is related to microservices from the code. Then if we go back to project, we need to make the following settings. So in custom fields section, we need to create something which will go to microservice grouping, and this key is provided in the annotation microservice. So this is key that will appear in the test results, and based on this key we will group the tests that go to one microservice or to other. Let's make the settings. MSR. Yes, that's correct. Submit. Now, after we completed this setting, AllureTestOps will take the information from the test results, and I will show you where it's in the tests. We have workspace and build and results. So this is result. Let's just take it to here and then make it a little bit better. So these are labels. Labels provided by Allure report, and you can see that there's name tag and value API, name tag and value small, which means that test in the code is already marked as, for example, here, whereas the tags here, which is web test and is critical. This is web test and regress. This is web test and regress. And some other could be, for example, API tags and smoke tests. So this information for each test that you created and you ran will be provided to AllureTestOps. Now, we need to run the test again. Build with parameters, build, and check what is happening on the launcher side. So again, we already have tags for launch, and these tags go only for launch, not for the tests. Tags for tests you provide in your test, in the code. You can see that still one failed test, and maybe more, we'll see later. Okay, so 2 failed tests and 7 successful ones. Now we go inside tree and jump in here. So we can see that here there is new field microservice and its billing. Here microservice repository. So the results are updated. What about the tests? There is no information about microservice here, and we cannot use it here. How we achieve that? So first of all, let's close the launch. As you remember probably, the tests information will be processed by AllureTestOps only for the closed case. Everything that is not processed doesn't appear anywhere. So this is the reason that we do not close launches automatically, because people need some time to process the test results and understand if this one must go in the test cases or not, and what to do with the failed tests. Do we need to include this information or not? Do we need to hide it or not? So let's imagine that we do not need anything to be excluded, and we just process. The launch is closed, information is being processed, and then going to test cases, we can see that there's a microservice here information. So we already updated our test documentation accordingly to the information from our tests here, and this information is updated and kept up to date by Allure based on the information that you provide. So this is the main idea of live documentation, which means that AllureTestOps will always contain the latest information about your tests, and the test cases will be updated by this information from your test. If you change something here in your code, run it, and then you will see the information updated in the test documentation. What else do we provide from our tests? For example, the layer. The layer is, as you can see, could be REST or could be, for example, web. So it's either API testing or web UI testing. This information is provided in your code, and we need to process it somehow. Now we go to settings again and check what is we already done for the layers of the tests. So the test layers, we need to create key REST and link it to global test layer API tests. Then what else? What do we have here? Here we have layer web, and we need to link it to the global test layer UI tests, for example. You can do whatever you want, name it however you want, but you just need to link this. So REST API and web UI. Let's run our tests again. Build. The launches are running, and let's check what do we have here in trees. Nothing yet. Let's go to launches and see what is the progress. So one test already arrived. We can go and check, and you can see that information about the layers already provided here. So this test is definitely UI. This test is API test. Now, how we can use the information about this in representation of the test cases and representation of the test results? Let's go to the settings And settings allow us to build a tree. For example, here you can see the feature and story. So it's already predefined by the system, and grouping is based on the feature and then on the story. If it's not enough for us, we can create another tree and, for example, create microservice tree. And we need to use microservice grouping. Submit, go to launches, go to the test results and tree, and then select tree that we just named as microservice. And you can see there is two groupings, billing and repository, and test out here. And if you go to overview tab, then you can see that there is an additional widget created by system automatically for the groupings, for the trees. And you can see that only error that you have in this particular launch is repository. So this is how we process enrich information about the tests, and we can create additional fields. For example, Jira. And Jira is the custom annotation as well. Let's check what is this. You can see that it will be provided as Jira. Jira issue, and the label annotation name is Jira. So everything that has key Jira, we can 100% sure to use as the identifier for Jira. So let's do this. Let's go to project settings. In the project settings, we need to define how we link this Jira label to an issue. We have issue section, and we create here, as we saw, it's Jira. And let's say that we only have one issue tracker called Jira Server, then we submit. Okay, if any of the tests that we created here have some information about the issues, and they do, then this information will be provided to the tests. Let's check this. And what is about Jira? You see that we already created some settings related to issue trackers, and Jira commit.io is our issue tracker, and this information will be used by the test results and for generation of the tests. We build again and go to the launches section. In the launches, we'll see that there is some tests are running in the progress. Some test results will arrive, and we will check what is the information that we got in addition to the one that we already created. So all the 9 tests are passed. And let's check. Create issue by API. There is no additional information. Another one, and you can see that creating new pull request by authorized user has some links to the issue tracker, and these links are clickable. If we click, then we will go to Jira and we will land in some issue that is already created, and we understand that this particular test, which has links to A1, AE1 or AE2, are for the testing of some new functionality or for testing of some failure which is either already fixed or not, doesn't matter, but we see clear link between the information in test and the information that we have in issue tracker. And again, if you go to the test cases, there is no information about this so far. We go to the launches, close launch. This information will be provided to the test cases. So here. The next step for us is to talk about the manual tests. How we manage manual tests here in AllureTestOps. how we help people to automate their tests with AllureTestOps. First of all, for manual tests, we need to create it, run, and then we will automate. And let's go the steps. Let's just close all the launches that we already created. Yes, they are all closed, and go to the test cases. And let's use our feature grouping. Issues, pull requests. Let's create another grouping and feature that we will call authorization, for example. And a story, for example, we need to authorize user. Authorize the user with email and password. And then we'll create a test case. Oh, no, let's just create successfully. Authorize the user with email and password. Then we go to the test case. As you can see, this is manual test case and this is automated test case. And for this test case, the status of the test is draft. Then we need to provide some description. So the story about this will be that we need to authorize some registered user by providing valid email and valid password. So it's positive case. We need to be sure that a user with valid email and valid password is able to authorize. Then we go to scenario and type our steps. I'll just prepare this in advance so you can see that there's our following steps. We need to open the host, click login button, enter some login information, provide email, provide password, and enter password. And what we will check here, and you can change the hierarchy of the steps by pressing either shift or not shift but tab and shift. You can change the steps. So if you press tab, then it will be sub-step of the previous step, and if you press shift and tab, that will be just usual step. And for example, here in this sub-step number 4.1, we need to provide some information about this test, and we need to provide some screenshot. So we'll just create screenshot, copy it to clipboard, and then we'll add to this one. So this is avatar of the user that we are expecting to see. And this information is provided here, and manual tests will check it and decide whether this is true or not, and then submit. So these are the steps. The next step of the manual test cases is that someone will check this draft. For example, some manager will check this draft of the test case and put it to review state. After the test case is reviewed, you put it into active state. So after this test is active, well, actually in any state you can run it, you can check it and decide whether it's true or not. And after that, we will just put it as active. So active is a marker for the test engineer that this test can be used for running. Let's run this manual test. We just select the test and select run. We will not provide any additional information at the moment, and we will see this information and discuss the information later on. And at the moment we just run the test. Launch name will be generated automatically. You can provide some information. Let's check just smoke test. Submit. The launch is created for this manual test, and we go to this launch and we will see that there is a test. This blinking circle means that it's ongoing. Blinking circles here that mean that test needs to be checked. You cannot start the test in progress before you assign this test to someone. In this case, I will just assign to myself, and I will pass all the steps here. Or you can, for example, pass all the previous steps, and you can see that all the steps are green right now, and actually the test is completed. Now what we do next, we can provide some information. Test seems to be okay and can be used. Okay, then we mark this test as passed, and this information is provided here. So there's one passed test, and we need to close the launch for manual test. That's it. So you can combine these tests as much as you need and run them. And all the manual test cases will appear in the same launches area as the automated tests. You can see that the tag we provided for this launch is smoke. And comparing to automated tests with this executor is Jenkins, you can see that member of this launch is myself. Now what is the next step? We can automate manual test case. How we do it? We already developed the integration between IntelliJ IDEA and AllureTestOps, and in our case, if we want some manual test cases, for example this for authorization, to be automated, we need to make these steps. We go to, well, let's just provide some additional information. For example, this authorization story and the microservice that we will call auth. So finally this step will, not the step, but test case will be in the feature authorization with the story authorized user with email and password, and microservice called auth. So this information is provided, and for example I want to be sure that the owner of this case is myself. Issue links, for example, we will provide some information here. And tags, that will be API, which is already available here, and smoke. Submit. So this is all the information that we provide to automation engineer. And after that, automation engineer will create additional class in his code called authorization tests. We will provide it to here. And then create some additional test case called successful authorization email password. So this is it that we need to create on side of IDEA. And what we will do next, we need to get this ID of the test and provide it to IDEA plugin. The test case ID is 12.266. We will override manual test case, and what we need from AllureTestOps is all this information. So name, tags, field, issues, members, scenario will be provided from AllureTestOps to ID. Oh, sorry. So it's valid number, and press OK, and we will see that information from the test case, which is manual test case, will be provided to IntelliJ IDEA. And you can see that AllureTestOps provided this Allure ID to the test. This information is really important because then if we change something with the name or with class or with package, we'll change the ID of the test. And if we will provide this information, then all the changes will be updated accordingly to the code. So if your test linked via Allure ID, then it will be linked always to this Allure ID, and whatever you change with the names or class or packages will keep your test updated. If you don't have this information here, then your test will become orphan, and there will be two similar test cases in Allure, and one will be updated and the other one will be just kept as it was on the moment when you provided last test results with the old path. Okay, so you can see that there is some error here, mistype. We change it and we will see how it will be updated in the tests. Then after manual QA finalized their work, the automation engineer will see that it's not completely achievable using the code, and we probably need to do some updates. And then after that, automation engineer will change the steps that provided from AllureTestOps and change the code. An automation engineer created the code, which has a little bit different structure than the steps that provided by manual QA. It will just run the code. Whatever is inside, it doesn't matter right now. The idea will run the tests and we will see what are the results of the tests. There are several options. Okay, so the test is successful. Automation engineer is happy. We will just delete everything that we created here and run the test again. Just to make the clean results. Okay, so it's finalized. There are several options how we provide the test results from IDE to AllureTestOps. First one, we can manually upload the test results here, or we can use the options that is provided by our plugin that we developed. So on the Allure results, you just press upload results. Then you need to select right project for you and then provide right launch name. So it's local test of the certain date and then press OK. As we see, there is no error message and we check here. Alright, so we can see that there's one test arrived. We check everything. So authorization, auth, authorization tests, tree, microservice authorization, and we just change the view. So it's authorization, authorize, so mistake is fixed. Successfully authorized the user with an email and password. So you can see that the 0 steps arrange, open some, then locate email ID, and we attached here the email that we need to provide, and then we attached here the password that we need to provide as Allure attachment. And Allure attachment is the same Allure attachment that you're using for Allure report. And then assert Selenium locate the class RC title, and Selenium checks that RC title contains the information about the user's email. So this information is provided. So if we go back to test cases, we can see that this authorization test case is still manual. At the moment when we will close this launch, the test will become an automated one. And if you are not happy with the results, then you can just delete everything related to this launch from AllureTestOps, and your test case will remain manual one, and you can rework it again. So let's assume we changed here something. For example, we added some tag or made some additional changes in code, doesn't matter right now. And for example, we put here regular, and then we update this information, run the test again, just delete everything from here, so there is no build, and run again. Okay, so test results arrived, and we can provide these test results from our local launch to AllureTestOps site. Demo presentation, manual, and the date, and for example, some time, just to be clean. Allure will generate launch again, say we are happy, and we are ready to make this test fully automated. So we close the launch, go to the test cases, and we can see that this successfully authorized user with email and password is already automated test. After that, manual engineer and automation engineer together can review the steps. As you can see, there is alt information here, and the login information and email, user avatar, which we won't use, and finally both of them together, or maybe just manual engineer decides if this scenario fits to their expectations. If everything alright, then we just delete stored information, and test case will become fully automated with the automated steps from the steps that we provided in our code. ID of the test will remain the same, and everything that was changed here, even if we call it successful, rename the test, refactor, rename, successful authorization tests, refactor, everything is changed, everything is alright, and we can make another test here. Let's just check if everything will be alright on AllureTestOps site. So we can see that it's 12,266, and we will check. Let's run the test. Did everything change here? Okay, and we can provide the test results to AllureTestOps. Demo presentation, updated, last name. Okay, let's check our launches. In our launches updated class name here, in the tree we can see that it's 12,266. Authorization test, authorization email. So successful authorization tests. That's alright. We are happy. Let's go to the test cases and check. And we can see that still this is authorization tests, not successful authorization tests. Now we go to the launches and close the launch. And test cases, and this test case is still 12,266. There is no new additional test cases, and the full path of the test case is updated. Next step of our presentation will be running tests from AllureTestOps side. We'll run jobs, we'll run test cases, we'll run test plans. So this is what are we going to do. We will show you how to initiate test running inside of a build job. Then we will run all the test cases for a build job. Then run some test cases depending on our logic or our wish. Then we will rerun failed test cases, create test plan, and run test plan based on our logic or wish whatsoever. The first thing that we need to discuss here is the environment. As you probably remember, we created jhost, jbranch, and jbrowser variables inside the build job on Jenkins CI side. Jhost we are using to run and tell our tests what is the host that we need to use to run the tests on. Jbranch is to select the branch from version control system, and jbrowser is to provide information to our test on which browser we want to run our tests. Currently, if you can see in the launches area, only for manual test cases we have environment information because we provided it manually. But our tests are running with these variables, and this information is provided to the tests, but AllureTestOps doesn't show any information about the environment. So, first steps. Before we start running the test from AllureTestOps side, we need to provide and feed this environment information to AllureTestOps. First of all, we go to administration section of AllureTestOps and check environment variables. We have host here, browser here, and branch here. So everything is set up on AllureTestOps side globally, but for the project we need to link environment from CI to these global labels. Let's go to the settings, environment, and create, as before, for custom fields or layers, jbrowser here, and link to browser variable, global browser variable, then jhost. And link it to the host variable that created on global level. And for branch, jbranch, and link it to branch variable created on global level. So from this moment on, Allure will recognize these variables in test results and will provide this information to the launches. Let's just check it, how it's working right now. Save the information here and run the test again. In AllureTestOps launches area, we see that Chrome, testing, some host XYZ, and master are provided. Let's just wait when the test is completed. And I will show you how this information is used in AllureTestOps. So, test completed, close the launch, and go to the job section. So, this is the job section that we created here. So this job is represented in Allure side in job section. We need to pull from CI the default variables and their values to this job. Just configure, not configure, but update from build server. So Chrome, testing, master. Okay. Then we need to link these variables from here. So jbrowser needs to be linked to browser, jhost needs to be linked to host, and jbranch needs to be linked to branch here. So in two places. one in the settings and the other in the jobs. Submit. Then, if we want to just run whole build job on CI side, we select run here. And if we want to provide some alternative environment to run, we create the set of environment variables. For example, we will change the host to run on. It will be production, some host, and maybe browser will be alternative as well. It will be Firefox. Save environment. You see that is one set of environment, prod and Firefox. If you will create additional set of environments, then two build jobs will be created, not build jobs, but the launches will be created. One is first environment set, and the second one with the second environment set. And both of them will be run on Jenkins side and provide the test results for these environments. So if you want to change the test cases set, we will just change it. And in this case, I want to run all the tests that we already created. Submit and go to Jenkins side. We can see that launch of build 87 is created. Go to the console output and there is a command print environment executed before the build started, and we can check what is the environment that provided by build job to the tests. jhost, so it's production. Then jbrowser is Firefox, and jbranch we didn't change it, so it will be the same. So Allure feeds the environment information to CI, and then CI will provide this environment information to the tests, and tests will be running on different environments. Now, as we discussed, how we can run all the tests. So we go to the tests, to the test cases, and just select flat view and create all the tests, and for bulk actions of the test we create run. This run will be named accordingly to the pattern that you provided, or will be just launch blah blah blah. Tags manual or run from Allure. And for example, regular. Okay. And the same as for whole build job, we can create environment. For example, we will use Opera browser in this case and fake host XYZ. Save environment, submit, and check what is happening on the side of Jenkins. So number 88 is created, console output, and jhost. Jhost is fake host XYZ, and browser is Opera, and the branch is master, because we didn't change anything for that. Now, if we want to run only certain cases based on our criteria, for example, if I want to run only API, then we just apply the filter and select layer, API tests. For API tests, we will create another launch, and another build will be created on the side of CI. So in this case, we will just create, for example, host API, some host XYZ, just to check some API commands. Save environment, submit, and on Jenkins side, number 89 created. Let's check. jhost, and jhost is API some host XYZ. Now check the output, and output say that all the tasks are executed, and we can check our launch. So the previous launches, it's recommended to close them. You can see that environment information is provided by Allure stored here, and here we ran several tests. Let's check. So you can see that there are not 2 but 4 test results, because these tests are parameterized as we saw before, and for each test case it was created 2 test results with parameter second node and parameter first node. Second node and first node. All the test results will be transformed to test cases documentation and will be in just one test case. So it will close here. Test cases will be updated accordingly. Now, what is the another application of the ability of AllureTestOps to run test cases? We can check the launches, and for example, in this launch, we'll just reopen it. In this launch, there is a one failing test, and we want to understand if this failing test is failing randomly, or it's just really there is some mistake in the code, some mistake in the environment whatsoever, but we need to check it. Let's just select one failing test and rerun it from here. AllureTestOps will create another launch, and for this particular test case you will see that there is a retry section, and this retry section contains the information about the failed test, and the real result from the latest build will be replacing this one. So let's check the launches. Job is completed. Let's just check on Jenkins side. Build number 19, so it was alright. Okay, and check the information. So all the tasks are executed, and we will check the information from the build. This one is open. As you can see, all is green, so everything is okay now. And unresolved test cases moved to retries, and we can check the retries, and you can see that this one was failing, but in reality for 12,261 retries was failed, but history, it passed now. In the history of all runs you can see that it's now passed. So probably that was just a random error and our test case is alright, but we will see that in next builds. And we can close the launch, and this information about the tests again updated here. Now, what about if we want to run certain tests regularly based on some logic? For example, if we have some tests that have smoke tag, and we want to create some tests, a set of tests for this smoke testing. Regress, smoke. Yes, so we have several tests with the smoke. So what we do, we create a filter and select the tag smoke here, and we will have the list of the tests that have smoke tag in them. Now we want to create a set of tests that we will run always for smoke testing. Select all the tests and bulk actions, and create a test plan. We will create a test plan, smoke tests. System says the smoke test plan created. We can check it. So if you go to the test plans, you can see smoke tests. You go inside and you see all the tests cases included here. Now, if you want to execute this test plan, we'll just execute it, or we can make any changes. And there is a button sync test cases. If you select this one, then if some test cases just got recently after you created this test plan the tag smoke, all the test cases will be added here. Now we want to run our test plan. Just run, create any variables for environment set, and then submit. Then if we go to launches, we will see that our launch is created, and if we go to Jenkins side, then launch number 91 is created, and we can see that 4 tests completed, 1 failed. Alright, so all the tasks are completed. We go to the launch, tower tree, and we can see that everything, let's just do this one, everything that we requested, 1, 2, 3, 4, is executed. The first test with parameters, this test with parameters, so everything is alright. So 4 tests result and 3 tests executed accordingly to our test plan. 3 tests, 4 test results. Now, if we want to change test plan, it is possible to edit it and to add some test cases. For example, here is a tag in 4 or tag in, for example, smoke. We save the parameters. It will be the same because the tag number 4 was the for smoke. Thus we can create a lot of test plans based on our wish or some logic. And when I say logic, I mean when we include test cases to a test plan based on some filtering. And filtering was, in my example, tag smoke. In your example, it could be layer of API test or layer of UI test or whatsoever, depending again on your logic. And next thing that we will talk about is defects, how they're helping people to analyze the test results and help people to save time. What is defect? Let's go to our launches and run again everything that we have on the side of build server. We build with default parameters and check what is happening here. So our launch is created, build almost finalized, and we will see the test results. Okay, so this is our test results with 1 failed test. What do? We go to overview, see that there is actually there are 2 failing tests, even better. We can see that 2 tests are failing and they are marked as unresolved. Let's go deeper to the test and we will see what is happening there. We can see that here Chrome driver is not reachable. We did an analysis and we understood that it's some fault part on the not driver, but for example for the cluster of a WebDriver. Let's just use this information that we have and we will create automation rule that will assign a defect, and defect will be described as the Chrome driver cluster is not working. Here we have button link defect and we name Chrome cluster is not working. We're creating a defect and now we need to describe this. Error in data center with Chrome cluster. Then we need to create an automation rule, and for the automation rule we are using part of the message or part of the trace to create regular expression. For example, here we just take part of the message, Chrome is not reachable, and maybe part of this one, and creating regular expression here. WebDriver exception not reachable, and then part of the message Allure example, for example. And then this one. Then we check the matched results. If our regular expression is correct, you'll see that this particular test result is passing it, so we can use it. And then we just link defect. And the rule name based on message. Link defect. Now we go to launches, and we see that there is a new defect introduced. If we go to the test results, tree, overview, one test results is linked to open defect, and the other test result is linked to nothing. So it's unresolved test results, and the defect will allow you to resolve the failing test cases. So if you have 1000 of test results and some of them will pass here, for example, that will be 5 or 6 or 7 or 10, then you don't need to analyze this again. All the test results with the same defect, with the same error message, with the same cause of error will go to defects, and only the test results that are not passing this regular expression and not related to this error will go to unresolved test results. Thus, you don't need to analyze anything from here. And having one test results for analysis, for example, for 5 minutes, you will save 10 multiplied by 5, 15 minutes just on analysis of the test results. Then next, we analyze this error. And we can see that for example, we perform the analysis, we understand that element not found with this particular message is caused by the absence of advertisement widget on the page. So we need to create defect. That's is not present on the page. And then we create automation rule based on this part of the message. The rule name will be based on message regular expression not found and class something. Let's check if test result pass into this. Yes, they're passing. Back from and link defect. Now, if we go to the launches and test results, we can see that there are 2 new defects introduced in this particular launch. All the test cases with errors are analyzed and sorted to defects. Thus we can close the launch and just check what will happen if we start another build job, and we will check what will happen if the same error occurs. Okay, the test results are arriving. We'll just check our defects. Here, for example, just one test case affected in several launches. Again, several launches. Test cases, test results, and launches. Here, in 2 launches, just one test case and 2 test results are affected by this defect. What we can do else, we go to launches and check again. You see that defect without plus sign, which means there is one test in this launch, and we see contains a defect, and there is no unresolved test results. So basically, for this launch, we don't need to analyze the test results. We don't need to analyze the root cause and define the root cause. So this is already registered, understood, and processed, thus is resolved. And for this particular defect, for example, we can do another work. We can link an issue on a Jira server, and we can see that there is a issue created, ads widget is not working. We link issue, and we see that the issue and we can go to issue tracker. There is test cases assigned to this issue. They're already active, so someone is checking, and just if we do any changes to this particular issue, for example, the status, the life cycle of the defect will be updated. So you can see that this issue currently is in progress, and if this issue is resolved, so in done state, done, the state of this defect will be closed. If anything happened, again, you can go to issue tracker and change to in progress state, and this defect will be reopened. So if you say that this defect is resolved, issue is closed, everything is fixed, then in consecutive launches, all the messages, all the errors caused by this message will appear here again in unresolved test results. If that won't happen, then anything will go here if it's not related to this defect, and go here if it's related to defect that we created for another one. The Chrome cluster is not working. Let's just check again if there are any changes with the tests. So the test is running on default environment with the text that's defined in this launch. Test results are arriving, and we will see what is the current status with the tests. If there's some additional, so 2 tests failed, 8 tests passed, which is all right, and we will just check what is happening here. So ads widget is not present, additional 2 arrived. So this is still open defect, and only this one we need to analyze. Again, what we just did, we created defects based on error messages. Error messages are provided to defect as regular expression, and everything that is passing this regular expression is assigned to defect. So everything that is not defect will land in unresolved test results section of overview, and this will be only the test cases that you need to analyze in scope of this particular launch, which will save you a lot of time on the analysis. Once again, what is a defect? Defect is the acknowledgement that a failed test is analyzed, processed, and ready to be resolved. And the same errors that occur in a launch, you can just say that these error messages are known to you, and you analyze only the errors that occur and do not pass the regular expression of a defect, and they will land in unresolved test cases and unresolved test results. Next thing we will discuss in our presentation, and that will be the last thing for today, is dashboards, analytics, and widgets. Dashboards, analytics, and widgets will help the users of the system to understand what is happening with the test. So basically define the lay of the land, what is happening currently, how things are going, how some engineers are performing. I will show you the quick overview of the widgets, of the analytics, and show you how to create your custom dashboards and create custom widgets. So generally, in each project you have this dashboard with overview that will show you the lay of the land. So you have 8 test cases in total, 100% automated, and there is a number of failed and passed tests. Then automation trend will show you how many test results were automated and how many test results were manual. So this is only one manual test case. There is no muted tests, and muted tests are the tests that you do not want to see in your test results and in launches because they are failing permanently and you need to do something with them, and we did not include any tests in muted, so that is not. No tests are currently assigned to muted tests. To create some custom dashboards to understand in more details what you need to understand, we need to create a dashboard, create name for it, and then after that you just need to create additional widgets. So for example, we need to understand what is the number of tests that one of the developers created. So we just create some pie chart test, not test but widget, and we will create test pie chart group by, let's say, automation, and then we will need to create RQL rule to filter out the results of our tests and our tests. So this query is for test cases, and we need filter by role, and role in our case is owner, and owner Roshenka AM. Query completed. You see that the test cases matching this request. Submit. We can see that 100% of test cases, of 5 test cases by Roshenka AM, is automated. And for example, we just clone this one and create another one for different developer. 2 test results, 2 results, 2 test cases. Okay, so you can see that one person created 5 automated tests and the second one created 2 automated tests. Then we need to understand what are the worst test cases, because we do not need to focus on the best, we need to focus on the worst because we need to improve the situation. Let's just clone this widget and we will create worst test cases. In this case we need to create top test cases, and metric that we will use is success rate, and we will just leave it as it is. Role owner Roshenka AM. We can see that there are failing tests with a success rate 62 to success rate 68. So we need to concentrate on the test cases that are failing the most. Let's create clone on this one. So for this one we have 2 test cases with 100% of success rate. So these are either very good test cases or maybe the product is better. And this fails, we need to analyze why the success rate is so low. In another one, for example, we need to understand what is the duration of the test cases, and we just create a clone of this, not the success rate, by the duration. And this will be worst test cases for duration. Come on, alright, okay. And create the same for the first one, for the duration. So in this demo dashboard that we created, we can see that for one engineer there's 5 test cases with a success rate from 62 to 86. For the second one, there were 2 automated test cases with a duration of 2 seconds to 1 second, 2 seconds to 1 second, and all of these test cases are successful. So this will help us to analyze the current state of the test cases and to understand what is the direction we need to work. This was it for today's presentation. Please send our sales representative your questions and we will answer them. Thank you.